Hi everybody, it's your lovely Lotus Blossom Lizzie here today with another kind of art journal with me. And so the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm pulling out some of the items that I might be using. And in this case, I think I used all of these items plus some. So I am first going to kind of protect the pages behind here. I'm just using some regular old paper to do that with. And then I'm taking out my Delusions paint, but then I decided that I wanted to actually put gesso on the page first. Now, I always like to suggest that if these are the types of videos that you like, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification button so that you'll be notified when more videos like this one come out. And at any time now, during or after, you can also click that thumbs up if you don't mind. YouTube really likes it when I get thumbs up. That's my story and I'm sticking to it anyway. So I'm taking some gesso and I'm putting it down on the page. And in case you don't know what gesso is, it's really kind of just a protectant for your page. So when you put it down and it's nice and dry, it's going to keep your pages from kind of soaking up whatever types of media that you use, because with these type of projects, it's all about layering. So you really want to have a good foundation and base. So the next thing I did was I did make sure that page was dry. So in between all of these layers, I'm actually using my heat gun and I'm drying things up. And I'm using some Delusions paint. Now I love these lovely little pots of paint because they go on so smooth and so creamy, and you only have to use just a little bit. So believe me, it looks like I used a lot of paint on here, but I only used a few dabs of that black paint and it went on very, very nicely. And after it dried, you can see the texture that the gesso also adds to the page. So it's just like a canvas that you would go out and buy. So it's very nice. So I was going to use a different stencil. I was going to use my alphabet stencil, but I realized that I had used that on the page before, so I really didn't want to do that again. I wanted to do something different, kind of think out of the box and do some different things. So with stencils, it's important that you don't use too much paint. That's kind of the trick to using stencils, is just using a little bit. So I took out my white pot of Delusions paints, and then I took out a makeup brush, and I used that. I just kind of dabbed it into the paint and I rubbed a lot of it off onto my surface. Now you might be saying, what kind of surface are you using? This is just contact paper that's on my desk, so it wipes up really easily, and I really didn't mind if this gets stained or anything because I had more. And so I'm just using this just to kind of protect my desk. So I just went around and I covered that whole background, because with mixed media, it's all about the background, I think, in my opinion anyway. So now I am pulling out the matte gel medium, and this goes on kind of clear. It's almost like decoupage, but it has a more forgiving type of feel once it's dry. It's not hard. It's like really soft, and it does clear up once it's dry. And you can use it to kind of paste things down, just like if you were using decoupage as well. Now this little piece of paper that I have here in the middle is actually some vellum, and it was kind of some vellum that I messed up when I was doing an order for my Etsy shop, and I decided to keep it because I'm a hoarder like that, you all. I'm a hoarder and I love keeping things for my junk journal and my art journals, and so I kept that little piece because I knew somehow I was gonna find a way to use that paper. And then this vase I got out of a magazine, which I never find good stuff in the magazines, never find anything good, but I actually had a magazine that I was able to find some stuff with. Now here over on the left side, there's a mistake on that vellum that I wanted to cover up, and so what I did was pulled out a notepad that had a dress, and I've used this in my planner before, and I really love that little dress. I have like tons of them, and so I decided I was going to kind of hide things on that page with that dress, and I love the look that that it kind of, or the overall feel that the whole page, I can't even say it. Everything just kind of started coming together for me, because I kind of have a little bit of an idea before I start doing these types of projects, what I'm going to do, but really the pages kind of speak to me, and I kind of I figure out what I want to do as I go. So I'm also using some Studio G ink, and it's some white ink. And instead of using the black ink to go around the edges, I decided to use that since the pages were so dark already. I also wanted to mention that as the video goes on, you'll see that the background where I used the white dilutions paint is actually turning kind of a purplish color, and that was not my intention. But with the dilutions paints, they have a translucent kind of a look to them, so as it dries, it kind of pulls up the color from behind it. And although black was the color, it actually had kind of like a pink tone when it came out, which was okay with me. So then I took out my graphite pencil and I kind of went around things, because I felt like, everything kind of needed a frame. And so I kind of went around and gave it a dark distress look by doing this. Now you could use like the Tim Holtz distress inks before you put your pages down or glue them down, but you have to remember that the distress inks, whenever they get wet, they kind of reactivate. And so I didn't want to use that before I pasted these down, because I thought maybe it would kind of muddle the colors of the vase and also the dress. So that's a mouthful. So next I am drawing some flowers, and you can see over on the right hand side on my piece of paper, I actually decided to practice first. So that's a kind of a good tip for us baby multimedia type of artist, is to kind of practice first before you actually do it on the page. And so I practiced making some flowers. I wanted some flowers to come out of my marvelous vase, and I have to say I am pretty proud of myself. My flowers came out so lovely. I couldn't believe it, because when you're doing stuff like this, my immediate thought is always, you're gonna go too far, Lizzie. You're gonna go too far. But I thought the flowers came out just magnificent. Considering that I'm not an artist, and usually the only things I can really draw well, and really not that well, is a stick person and maybe some basic shapes. So I think I did good on the flowers. I really liked the way they came out. And I didn't want to give them too much color, because I wanted them to kind of stand out from the page and just kind of have that unfinished, imperfect kind of feel. So now I'm doing a little bit of journaling, because I'm just that type of girl. I like doing journaling in my art journal as well as my junk journal. And what it says is, sometimes you have to go with the flow. You never know how something will turn out until you are completely finished. And I'm glad I didn't punk out on the flowers. They look absolutely beautiful. Yay for me. And I put the date on there. I'm trying to remember to put the date on my artwork, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So next, I took out my white uniball pen again, and I decided to give that piece of vellum a frame. And I could have stopped right there, but no. I'm really laughing on the inside when I say that, because sometimes it's hard to stop, and you get into that creative flow and you just want to go with it, and you really can't mess anything up. You just get started, and I guarantee you're gonna love what comes out of you when you get done. So I guess that's the creative person in me. So I had somebody that asked me after I got done with this, they said, how did you make up your mind how you wanted to do this? And I just had to say, I just took out a few pieces and I just let the page kind of talk to me. And I think that would work for you as well, if this is the type of art that you like to do. Now I went ahead and I took my black paint pen out and I kind of colored in part of the dress because I thought that white, it didn't belong. And then I took out the white uniball pen again and I decided to kind of outline these little bow ties. There were bow ties on here. And at first I was like, maybe that was a mistake. It looks a little sloppy. But in the end, I think it all worked out. Because again, for these type of projects, I feel like the imperfections are really what makes everything work out and look absolutely beautiful. So even though, things looked a little shaky, it was just beautiful in the end and I loved it. And then what was on this piece of vellum, it said powerful and lovely. So I just kind of traced over that as well on this side. And I'm glad that I did that and it really popped out with the white pen. So then I decided to give the invisible lady who's wearing the dress, I decided to give her a necklace. So I took out my gold uniball pen and then the pen and the paper were speaking to me and it just said, I want more gold. I want more gold. And so I just put some dots in some strategic places. So we had the necklace and then we had the flowers, like the middle of the flowers. And then I just went around the corners and that really gave the page kind of a framing. And then, I didn't stop there. I put some in the middle of the page as well. And I really, really love the way it came out. So if you love videos like this, if you're really enjoying these, don't forget, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you have, I just wanted to say thank you. And also, I would love to hear your comments on this layout. Are you inspired? I hope you are inspired to do some mixed media as well, because that's what this channel is all about. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank everyone who comes over and they watch. So with that, I'm going to say love, peace, and hair grease from your sweet lotus blossom and lovable Lizzie. Have a fantabulous day and enjoy life.